I think it's definitely first female fast bowling coach.
Exactly.
The men's franchise was pretty exciting last year.
The challenge for us is thinking about, well, how do we take this dream, this vision of being the best fielding team in the PSL, and how do we match that to the needs of the individual players and the needs of the team? We need to stop putting Jonty on this pedestal of look, he's great, he's fantastic, but he's also just another man, another human that was on time and cared about fielding.
Are there any fielders within the Multan camp who have really impressed you?
If you look at some of the best bowlers that we know in T20 cricket, they're very specific to either the start or they bowl at the death. But the fact that he can bowl in all three phases is a massive advantage to us as a team.
Here we go, Hanji, and welcome back. We've got a very special episode for you guys today.
Yes, sir.
Ghazi is right here with me.
I'm here.
Beram, introduce the guests.
Yes, so we have the privilege today of having a sit down with the fielding and fast bowling coaches of Multan Sultans. We've got Catherine Dalton and Will Lintern with us. First of all, how are you guys and how does it feel like to be on the ProSports podcast?
Yeah, super exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, well, we're
excited to have you guys.
Super honored to have you guys. And just before we actually get into the mix of things, how's your experience been in Pakistan, Will? I reckon it's your first time.
It is.
And Catherine, I think you've been here like 4 or 5 times. So.
Yeah, basically live here. So
Yeah, for my first time, it's been wonderful. The people have been so welcoming. The cricket is obviously incredible. Being in the stadiums for the matches and feeling the energy there's something electric about it. And then I've just enjoyed, popping around a few different cities and getting to taste the food and meet new people. It's been a wonderful first trip.
How's the food been, right?
Amazing.
Yeah,
that was the thing. One thing I was told, like, you have to try food. I was like, which one is it? Just try everything. So that's what I've been doing. A little bit of everything here, a little bit of everything there. It's amazing. It's incredible.
Two things that Pakistan tends to get right most times is food and hospitality. So I'm sure that you guys are sorted in that regard.
Still crushing it. I can give you 10 out of 10 for both.
Nice.
So Catherine, and you can answer the same question as well, Will, later. How did Ali approach you? How did this start, right? Because you don't have any experience, or prior to Multan Sultans, you haven't really coached at franchise level. So tell us a bit about that.
yeah, I think it's definitely first female fast bowling coach. The men's franchise was pretty exciting last year. How it started was I set up a website with my mentor and also coach Ian Pont. So Ian's quite known in Pakistan for his fast bowling expertise and his hairstyle. But yeah, we set up a website and Ali just happened to be looking for fast bowling coaching for himself because he's a very keen fast bowler and very good one, I must add. And he found us. So he watched all the videos and he invited Ian out for a camp in Lodron prior to COVID. So this is quite a while ago. And I assisted on that camp and it kind of started from there. So didn't expect it to lead to 2 PSLs, but here we are. It's
been somewhat of a fairy tale journey, I suppose. What about you, Will? You, of course, have a baseball background. And it's interesting because I work closely with Jared Kimber and he told me the story of how back in either it was the late 90s or early 2000s,
early 2000s,
right? Australia, they hired Mike Young as their fielding coach, who was a baseball specialist. And what he kind of inculcated into that team was these underarm throws through which they would get or run people out quickly. Like think Andrew Simons. So tell us a bit about that as well.
So as far as my introduction to Ali and the Sultans, I have to thank Kath for that. I believe after the last season, there was a bit of discussion around how do we want to raise the standards of fielding and does anyone know any fielding coaches? And I'm very grateful that Kath recommended Ali get in contact with me. So he and I started speaking last summer and then that ran all the way through to, I guess, January time. And we got to a place where felt like I was going to be a good fit for the Sultans. So yeah, this is my second big assignment in cricket. The last one being when I was the fielding coach for Ireland at the 2011 World Cup and 2012 T20. But yeah, this is kind of my first time.
You were at the Kevin O'Brien game.
I was at the Kevin O'Brien game. I was the fielding coach for the Kevin O'Brien game. Yes,
love that.
We were there. But it was genuinely my first and currently only time that I was excited to see England lose.
So how's it been from Ireland fielding coach to Pakistan, Multan Sultans fielding coach? What are the differences you've seen in the fielding standards?
So I guess the key difference is we had a long build up to the World Cup.
Yeah.
So we had probably 8 months from by the time I got into camp to when the tournament started. So we were able to implement a throwing program. I went to Ireland several times. We had a long camp. So by the time we played that first game, we were a really tight unit, and everyone was coming from the same perspective. Like, there weren't too many different opinions is the wrong word, like just different experiences. Like, we're all coming in. Whereas with Sultans being a franchise team, you have local players, you have international players, and international players from different countries. So everyone is bringing their own experience, their own culture, their own background, their own needs. But even just if you look at some players are coming in, and this is the first cricket they've played in 2025 because they've had the winter off. Other players, like, they've been going for 9 months straight. So the challenge for us is thinking about, well, how do we take this dream, this vision of being the best fielding team in the PSL, and how do we match that to the needs of the individual players and the needs of the team?
Right.
And it's not a simple puzzle.
Of course not.
As you've seen, and as we've seen from just in general fielding in Pakistan and fielding in cricket, there's so many different pieces that we have to get right, and we're constantly pushing and pulling, trying to get the balance where it needs to be.
Is that underarm throw thing a part of your drills?
Always.
Because I've heard a lot about it, right?
I feel like you want to try it.
Every day. So we have a throwing program, a throw that does a couple things for us. It prepares our arm to throw. It develops robustness through the shoulder and the elbow, but then it also starts putting players in a position where they can throw. If we take the underarm throw, for example, you have to be able to throw off of one leg. You have to be able to throw from an unbalanced position. It's not it's not a stable base in that. It's not what the textbook says, but it is a stable base in that your leg is strong and stable and you're strong through the middle. So we practice that, and we practice initially stationary, just get how low can players get. Some of them like to tilt all the way over so that their knuckles are on the floor. Some are a little bit more upright, and it's about finding what works for each player. So we incorporate that into our daily throwing, and then when we get into the fielding drills, then we try and challenge them as they go to different angles. Like, can we use that underarm throw? Can we use spin throws? Can we still hit the stumps when we aren't even seeing them sometimes? So
can we go the full jaunty?
Can we do the full jaunty? Absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, when we talk about fielding, jaunty still comes up.
Jaunty.
And one of the things I've been challenging our players on is, we need to stop putting jaunty on this pedestal of look, he's great, he's fantastic, but he's also just another man, another human that was on time and cared about fielding. Like, if we do those two things, so many amazing things will happen for our fielders and for our team.
Are there any fielders within the Multan camp who have really impressed you?
You know what? I don't think there is anyone who has not impressed me so far.
And Chris Jordan is the incorrect answer here. It's the obvious one.
Chris Jordan is the obvious one, of course. But I think someone who I want to give a shout out to is Shahid Aziz, who's come through.
Emerging player.
Emerging player, and what a wonderful opportunity for him. We put him out on the boundary in the first game, and it felt like a greyhound running over there. Anytime there was a ball that got through the inner circle, Shahid was there stopping it. You haven't seen him yet in a game, but when Faisal comes in, I think you will notice Faisal a difference. I wasn't here last year, so I don't know. So I'm just going on what people like Kath are telling me, but you'll see the difference in his passion around fielding. So those two have been standouts for me. But then you also have people like Yasir Khan, who every time he comes out, it feels like he's trying to make an amazing catch. Michael Bracewell is doing his thing. Even David Willey, they're all kind of finding ways to contribute. It's just, it's matching that puzzle, like getting it all to click at the same time. That's the key for us.
Of course, you've got to keep following the process. It hasn't really been the best start for you guys in the field, and this is being recorded 2 games in. So when they take blinders in the 3rd game, just know that it hadn't yet occurred.
That's fair. But all championship teams have a trough, if you will. Like, no one always goes like this all the way through to when you lift a trophy or when you have your best moment. That's just been our start. There are loads of examples of amazing teams that have slow starts and then peak when they win. There are other examples of teams that peak really soon and everyone's like, they're the best team in the league, get to the playoffs, and they lose. So for us, like, the last 2 games have been a learning experience. They've been a start. They've been an opportunity for us to see what's working and what isn't, and how do we dial up the intention, the pressure, the detail in practice so that we can get it right. And we'll see game 3. Have we got it right? We'll see when the podcast comes out. But I think what you'll notice is over the course of the season, like you'll see some of those changes coming through.
It'll probably come out after the third game. So.
Fair enough.
And we know that Multan always has some sort of method behind the madness. They've been a data-centric team. So, Catherine, we spoke to Will about the fielding talent and who has caught his eye. You've had the opportunity to work with some very, very fine fast bowling talents, right? Muhammad Ali Daisy last year, Abbas Afridi last year as well. And this time you've got someone in Akif Javed, who's a left-arm seamer. And then he's been prolific in franchise T20s recently. And I've noticed that he can be a very fruitful option in the power play, through the middle, and at the death. So how do you assess him and the rest?
Yeah, look, I think Akif is still a very young guy. I think he's got a lot to learn, which is great, but he's very willing to learn, which is always a good sign. I think as a coach, when you go into any franchise team, like obviously Will's developing or fielding to new heights, I think you have to have buy-in, player buy-in. If the player wants to learn and wants to improve, then there's no better place to be as a coach. Akif obviously joined us a little late. We had a pre-tournament camp for 4 days. He wasn't a part of that because obviously he was in New Zealand with the national team doing really well. He played that first game for us. Something that's really impressed me with him is his ability to use different angles.
Right.
So he doesn't just bowl from over the wicket. He comes round. He changes his angles in the crease really well. He's got some off-pace deliveries which are fantastic. A great bouncer.
Yeah.
And as you said, I think there's nothing harder than being able to bowl in every phase in T20.
Game,
True.
If you look at some of the best bowlers that we know in T20 cricket, they're very specific to either the start or they bowl at the death. But the fact that he can bowl in all 3 phases is a massive advantage to us as a team, because we can say, look, Akif, you're going to bowl at the death, or you're going to bowl a couple up front. And depending, as you said, matchups, because we have our analyst, Pat, who's doing an amazing job, depends on the batter that's coming into play, whether we use him or not. But the fact that we can use him is a huge advantage.
Also, I've noticed with Akif that, like, based on his interviews, he really wants to bowl fast. But we've covered him or analysed him a fair bit, and he gets the ball to seam off the deck in either direction. That's a very good skill to have. And he's got a rip snorter of a bumper, right? Like, he's so tall that he's going to always generate bounce. Is that like every fast bowling coach's dream?
Oh, 100%. If someone can swing it both ways and bowl bouncer, I may as well just have a cup of tea. No, I mean, the fact that he wants to bowl fast, right? It's not always easy on the surfaces that you sometimes typically get in Pakistan. They don't always do a huge amount, although last year they did for us in Multan. But if you've got that passion for pace inside you, then he's always going to want to bowl fast. I think that's exciting. If somebody wants to bowl bouncer, but you also have to be clever, right? You can't just run up and bowl 150 and it'd be wide. Especially in T20 cricket, you have to be very smart with the deliveries you bowl. And that's definitely something that he's developing. And I'm really excited about his future. Not just him, though. There's so many other bowlers
like
in our
Shahid
camp.
Aziz and Ubaid Shah. They're new to the Multan's camp as well.
Yeah, well, Will mentioned Shahid, and I think he's an unbelievable fielder in the making. Tonight at practice, for example, just to talk about his batting, he's hitting the ball into the car park, basically every other ball. So he's got this amazing ability to hit a cricket ball. And he's been really fun to work with, actually. He's developed 2 new slower balls with me, which I'm not going to reveal on the pod, because otherwise they're going to go all around. By game 4, every other franchise will be bowling them. But yeah, he's been very open to developing new deliveries, which has been really exciting. And yeah, he's got the same feel. Like he just wants to run up and bowl fast.
What about Ubaid Shah? Because he came from Islamabad. He was playing with his brothers at the Islamabad team. Now he came to Multan. And in the previous match, we saw that he, after going for a few runs in the first 2 overs, he pulled it back. He pulled back his length. He was bowling those variations. And he was pretty good at the back end of the innings.
Yeah, so, what a great temperament to have as a young fast bowler. Your first PSL game for Multan, you get hit for 2 boundaries, and he came back brilliantly. He kind of didn't go. I don't think he put a foot wrong after that. After analysing his bowling spell, he was brilliant. He's got the ability to shape the ball back in. He's got a fantastic bouncer. On my speed gun, he's bowling good speed. He's bowling north of 140
that's great.
Most of the time. So he's still got more in the tank, but it's just this passion to keep running and bowling fast, which I don't think is always always happens in England. I think sometimes we're quite happy to run up and shape it around at slower speeds, but he's definitely got this passion to do as best he can. I think it's a bit strange for him being away from his brothers, but he's come to the right side, don't I?
I mean, he's got to prove himself away from his brothers as well. And tell him to grow up the hair, I think that's what you need as a Pakistan fast bowler, But look, we're really, really excited with Ubaid. And I think even though he went for 37 runs the other day, it was an impressive debut game for the Multan Sultans.
Definitely. Yeah. He hit his areas, didn't he? After the first two deliveries, he came back so well. And I think that just shows you that he's actually quite composed at this level, which is great to see. He's also got some good off-pace options. Yeah. He bowled a very good bouncer as well, I think, to Munro. He went around the wicket to Munro and got him caught in the deep. So there were quite a lot of good tactical awareness from him, which was really promising to see.
Yeah, it'll take some effort to one-up his brother, the elder one, I suppose. And of course, you've also got an express pacer amongst your ranks, and Mohammad Hasnain, who's done a lot of work recently at the Pace Academy, in England? And he's come back, a touch quicker as well. And, Hasnain is an interesting one. He's been in the system for so long, right? Like we saw him first in PSL 4?
Yeah, around about that time.
Yeah, and he was player of the final as well. He hasn't quite, maybe he has developed, of course, but hasn't quite been able to cut it at that level. Maybe it's a lack of opportunity as well. How do you see him as a case study, and what are the sort of areas you want to improve with him?
Yeah, I think for Hasnain, I'm not sure of his whole backstory because I've only really been one-on-one with him in this camp, and that's the first time I've really had exposure to him. But I know that maybe there's been a lack of opportunities in the last couple of years for him.
He's been in and out of the team.
And that's always a challenge, right? Because if you're in and out of a team, when you come in, you think you're going to have to take 5 wickets. So there's a lot of pressure that you put on yourself. But I don't see that pressure with him. He's very cool, calm and collected guy. He works very, very hard at his game. He's very knowledgeable. In the nets tonight, we were just speaking about where to put your fielders, what deliveries to bowl, and he was talking about that ability as well. I know we know him as a fast bowler. When you think of Hasnain, you think of bowling quickly. You think of 150. Yeah. But he also is very much developing his ability to bowl mix-ups, and if he does that, I think he's definitely going to have a place in a lot of sides.
Nice. Yeah. What about you, Will? You've mentioned Shahid Aziz and Faisal Akram as the young ones that are doing good in the field. What about the players such as Willie and Jordan? How much role do they have in inspiring the other teammates? Because as you all know, Jordan is one of the best fielders in the world. And with his experience coming in, playing all around the world, what sort of help can he bring to the local talent in the team?
First and foremost, when you have a player of that caliber and that experience, their presence lifts the field. Like we experienced it kind of on one of our first, or maybe it was our second practice with Jordan in, and we did a team fielding activity, and you could see how much the energy changed because he was there. And then halfway through the drill, he kind of stepped in and started commanding the field a little bit more. And that, again, took us up to another level. So his presence, his ability to role model, first and foremost. Willie, as well, has been an excellent example. I mean, he didn't have the best game on first, our first match from a bowling perspective. But what he then role modeled is how you can then impact the field. If you take away his bowling and you watch, well, how did he field in that game? Quite frankly, how he fielded in the second game. Again, just another absolute warrior, relentless, selfless in the amount of ground he covered, always looking for run-outs. He hasn't got it yet, but he's constantly looking for a run-out every time the ball is in his hands. So there's an element of role modeling there, but also it's their confidence in understanding how to attack the other team and how to build our approach against them, and making sure people in the right space, supporting people to make sure they're backing up. The key for any fielding team, but especially one of the things we're trying to do, is this idea of fielding as a unit. Like every time the ball is put in play, everyone has a job to do. It doesn't matter that the ball's gone to the other side of the field. That ball's going to come back in. So we have to be ready to back up not just one end, but both ends, because we don't know how the play might unfold. True. And those players are particularly good at shepherding, is perhaps the right word. It's like, okay, we've got to get these angles right. We've got to cut these off. Their impact has been felt throughout. It's been brilliant.
Right. And of course, I mean, you guys would use all, I suppose, overseas players as role models within the camp and stuff like that. But there must be some sort of language barrier as well, I'm assuming, with the players. So how do you kind of maneuver your way around that?
Do you want me to answer?
You go for it.
I think it depends on the player, because some of these guys have very good English, so it becomes very, very easy. Other times there's a translator, so somebody will translate. There might be a player in the group. Sometimes it's our boss, Ali Tareen, is able to translate, and he's fantastic at that, especially for me personally, because he's got a lot of fast bowling knowledge already. So for him to translate, it really does work. But we find a way of getting the message out there. That's the key thing. Our Urdu is very bad. So
English is better than Urdu.
100%. So we respect that, not everybody's going to speak English. And quite frankly, that doesn't matter. My French is awful, so I can still coach cricket. But yeah, I think it's important that we know the message has been received. Because if you're giving something as a coach, you want to know that the person firstly knows what you're saying, but secondly understands it. And that is a challenge for sure, but we find ways around it.
You mentioned Shahid Aziz and slower ones, which takes me weirdly enough to Abbas Afridi, because one of his main weapons is his back of the hand slow delivery. Is that something you worked on with him?
No, I can't claim that one, unfortunately. We had a good bowling attack last year, as you know. I actually just saw Muhammad Ali Daisy at training, so it was really nice to catch up with him. But yeah, I can't claim Abbas's back of the hand. He developed that long before me, trust me.
Right. Yeah, I know he developed that. I was just kind of having a fun moment. Anyway, I suppose one thing that we really want to talk to you about today is being a part of that dressing room, right? You've got such towering figures. Abdul Rahman is probably the finest coach in Pakistan. Mohammad Rizwan is the ODI captain, right? And he's also a towering figure, very influential figure in terms of garnering respect from his teammates. And, when Rizwan speaks, you listen. So Ali, in a podcast with us recently, said that one special thing about the Multan Sultans dressing room is that everyone is heard. And you guys all kind of dish out your own tactical nous, and then you all come to consensus. So what's that experience like, and how is the working environment, I suppose?
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's probably the best environment I've been in as a coach. Everybody fully respects each other. We've got a great group, and we all get on really well, which is so important, because however the coaching staff are, and this is something that we speak about as well, is that bounces off onto the players. So we need to make sure that we're positive and we're giving the right messages, but the fact that we all get on so well really does help. But you're right, I think that environment is so important, particularly in a franchise, because as Will was saying earlier about Cricket Ireland and having a lead-in time with the fielding, there's no lead-in time here for an environment, so you kind of have to do it in the 6-7 weeks that we have together. So the fact that we're all getting on very well, obviously Rizwan is a fantastic leader. Even when he speaks, everybody just stops. Even I stop. And I'll never forget his speech he did before the final last year. Unbelievable speaker, incredible. It's so inspiring, even for us as coaches. You kind of want to play, you want to coach well. I want to play for him, even though I don't play. But Ali, credit to him and Abdul Rahman, for creating that environment where we feel like we can do our job, and we are trusted 100% and heard, which is really important.
Amazing.
All right, so I suppose we should get on to the current season that's happening. So you've lost 2 back-to-back games, which is unlike Multan. You've been here for 2 seasons, but if we look at their history, they've been one of the most consistent sides throughout the league season. So,
at least in the last 3-4 years.
Can I just check? Didn't we lose the first 2 games when we won the whole thing in 2021?
You guys won like 5 on the bounce, and then
you lost around 4 games, right? So my question to Catherine is that how different is it in the dressing room after doing consistently good in the first season, and in the second season you lose 2 back-to-back games? Does that affect the players as such?
I think it's important to understand that there was only a certain number of players who were here last year, and actually
it's a new group.
Yeah, it's a new group, so it feels like a new team in that sense. Although the core of it is very similar, which was important for us actually at the draft when I came in January, that we kept the core of our team tight and then we just built around it. But yeah, I mean, it's just 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't played at home yet.
Yeah.
And we've got an incredible record at home.
Incredible record.
I think we only lost 2 games at home.
Something like
Something
that.
crazy like that. So, look, we've got an important game tomorrow, and we just take each day as it comes. It's also important to make your highs not too high and your lows not too low.
Yeah.
Especially in a group stage when there's plenty of games to be played, and we're still very, very positive. Don't worry, we're gonna win tomorrow. Don't worry.
We're not worried at all.
As your skipper Rizwan says, you either win or you learn, which unfortunately people have taken the piss out of. Which is like, this is one thing that I don't understand about Pakistan, right? You're 2 people who are coming here and praising Rizwan for his presence, and we know that he's that kind of figure.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the media over here is very unforgiving, and if the team isn't doing well, they'll just
That's actually a golfing quote, I think.
it might be. It makes sense, right?
And it's true.
Yeah, it is true. It is true.
Because if you lose a game of cricket, you sit down and reflect. But even if you win, you sit down and reflect.
Yeah.
So you're always learning. I don't think you ever stop learning. So it's a fantastic thing he said, for sure.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Fully back it. And I think people sometimes forget it is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And there are so many analogies you can draw on it, but what matters is how you finish. And it, as Rizwan said, this has been a learning experience. Like, we've had 2 wonderful opportunities, and now we get a chance to show how we flip the switch and the type of team we are and the type of people and humans we are.
Get ready for tomorrow, guys.
We're ready for the fireworks.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of professionalism, though, what are the differences you've seen in England and Pakistan? Even though I know Multan is such a well-run organization, but what sort of areas do you think there exist to improve for the local crop? Right? What can they learn?
I'll comment on something that's not necessarily England to Pakistan, baseball to cricket.
All right. Yeah, we love that.
The attention to detail on fielding, the time for fielding. I think cricket fans, and I know cricket fans are very protective over how good their fielders are.
Yeah.
They would be shocked at how much time baseball players spend fielding.
Really?
Shocked. I reckon baseball players practice fielding somewhere between 3 to 5 times the amount that cricketers practice.
Wow.
Whoa. That for me is the biggest change. So if you are a young player or you're a parent who's thinking like, and you're listening to this podcast and thinking, I want my player to eventually make it to the PSL and they're going to be the best fielder. Well, maybe it's not even just about that. Maybe it's how can I be the most well-rounded cricketer? If you're growing up in Pakistan, you're going to bat, you're going to bowl. What's going to separate you is, can you also field?
True.
So you've got to make the time for it. You have to make the time.
You've got to practice those parried catches, for instance, I'm assuming, because that's so common now. It's not one of those special things anymore. You see it every other game. Also, first game versus Karachi, you guys had there was a lot of dew, which kind of hurt you because obviously the ball is tough to grip. How do you counter something like dew or practicing for it from both a fielding and bowling perspective? Like, what are the sort of drills that you have to do?
I think something that's really good to do is to get a ball and just make it a bit wet. So in the nets, sometimes if it is dewy, we'll just make sure it's dewed up, and then we'll see how the bowlers bowl. Because if you don't practice it and then it comes to a game and you haven't practiced with a wet ball, suddenly your confidence is like, oh, I can't grip this. But actually, if you've practiced it over and over again, a bit like what Will was just saying about fielding and the attention to detail on that, if you practice with it, then by the time you get to a game, you're more than comfortable with it. You're right, though, it was very dewy that evening, which made it slightly more difficult for us, for sure, to execute our skills.
We did feel for you guys a bit, because if Chris Jordan can't land a Yorker and Akif is bowling a no ball, then of course something is up, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Will? Same question.
Same point with kettlebells to practice. Like, you can't back away. It's a bit wet. Okay, today's a great day to practice diving, sliding, catching, throwing with a wet ball, because you need to be able to do it. And then it becomes, again, that attention to detail. Whenever I go around, especially with younger players in academy settings and even some pro teams, like, how should you hold a cricket ball when you throw it? We want to throw it across the seam so it doesn't swing. Great. And then you watch them throw. I reckon 7 out of 10 are not gripping it across the seams. So it's like, okay, so we know we should do it, but we're not doing it. Why? Because we're not paying enough attention.
Right.
So that's where the daily throwing program. So the importance of that is, because you don't have to react to the ball and hit the stumps, you've got a chance to set your grip and remind yourself what it feels like to have that grip. So then, when the pressure's on, you find the grip every time. And the second part is just you manage the conditions. You know the ball's a bit wet, you know the ground's a bit slippy, so maybe you have to chop down your feet a little bit sooner so you're not skidding across. Maybe you have to give yourself an extra half second so you get a better grip so the ball doesn't slip away. And you got to make sure that the towels are ready so you can dry your hands off. So we have to do our best to manage the conditions, but also prepare the players to feel comfortable regardless if the pitch conditions aren't perfect.
That was a very elaborate answer, and I love that. I mean, our viewers would have learned a lot from all that you guys had to say. Also, fielding is more or less like you go through the same drills for different formats. But Catherine, bowling has become really difficult to kind of manage across formats, right? You're trying different variations and you're trying to keep the batter guessing in T20s, whereas if you go to longer formats, you want to hold your length. How challenging is it for you from a coaching perspective to kind of manage that? Because, there's a big notion that, because of the proliferation of T20 cricket, bowlers can't hold their length anymore and they aren't very suited to longer formats. So that's quite a challenge that we face these days, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, if you think of opening the bowling, you still want to hit your length, and if the pitch has got something in it, that's still almost a test match length, isn't it? So you're just doing it for longer. I think that's probably the challenge if you're a T20 player and you're only a short format player, is how do you do that for longer spells? And that's just practice, to be honest. So certainly I'm not sure how it's run here with state cricket, but county cricket in England, you'll practice red ball and you'll practice white ball bowling. So it is a skill set for sure, but sometimes use both. Yeah. Like there's a clip I use with some of my students of Shoaib Akhtar actually bowling Multan against England. I think he took 5.
Yeah, I remember that game.
And they were all slow balls.
Yes. He developed the slow one in that series actually.
And it really dipped.
Yes.
So he could use that skill in ODIs, he could use that skill in T20 cricket. So it's just being very adaptable as a player. I suppose crease angles in Test cricket is the same as crease angles in T20 cricket. The ball just doesn't do as much, does it? And you just have to, as you said, be a bit more patient in the longer format, and you have to think a little bit quicker because batters are going at you in T20 cricket. So skill sets are similar, it's just how long and how consistent you have to be over a period of time. Shorter in T20, a little bit longer in 50 over, and then obviously Test cricket is a lot longer than that.
Also in England, Jimmy Anderson made the wobble seam delivery mainstream. And now you've got the likes of Sam Cook, who's finally probably going to debut versus Zimbabwe. I've read that in the news. I haven't seen a lot of wobble seam from Pakistan bowlers though. Yeah. Hassan Ali does a bit of it. I think he picked that up in Birmingham, right? So what's your take on that?
I think it's being confident in your skill set. So some bowlers will bowl the wobble seam delivery.
Mohammad Abbas is one.
Yeah. It's not as complicated as you think.
I've been told it's easy to bowl but tough to master.
Correct. So it's just a slight grip change where you just slightly come off the seam angle and then it just wobbles slightly. And the advantage of that, as we know, is it can go off the surface in either direction. But as it comes out your hand, it just has that little bit of wobble on it. It's something you can develop. I think if you can learn slow balls, you can learn Yorkers. There's no reason you can't learn ball seam.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think, do you want to ask something else?
Yeah, I suppose just on a closing note, since you guys are subject matter experts in fielding and fast bowling, Will, first you describe to me what it takes to be a near-perfect fielder in cricket. And then Catherine, what would be all the skill sets you'd want in a T20 bowler specifically?
Okay, so I think first thing is you have to be on time. The best fielders in the world, whether we talk about John T, we talk about Glenn Phillips, talk about Chris Jordan, AB de Villiers, absolutely, that they are on time, meaning at contact they're in the air, so that they can now afford their body and their mind the ability to react to, but sometimes even predict where the ball's going. So number one, be on time. Number two, we're going to beat the ball to the spot. Right, so it doesn't matter whether it's on the ground or it's in the air. If it's on the air, you want to get to the drop zone as quick as you can so that you can make a hard catch into an easy catch. And then the final part for me is this belief. You have to believe that every single ball is going to be hit to you so that you're ready. You then follow that up with, you believe that you're going to stop every single ball. Not just the ones at you, but the one that you have to dive to your left, or that top corner catch. That doesn't happen out of luck. It also doesn't always happen out of practice because it's really hard to practice. It happens out of belief. They believe. You watch Glenn Phillips, the way he takes that catch. He has no doubt in his mind that he's going to catch that ball.
It's almost like he's manifesting those catches.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the final part is hitting the stumps. Like when you have an opportunity, you believe it's going to hit the stumps. It's not just, well, I'm going to throw it and maybe I need to work on my throwing mechanics. So I do this. It's like, no, every time I pick up the ball, I expect to hit the stumps. If I don't hit the stumps, that again, to go back to our Rizwan point, is a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Be on time, make hard catches easy, and believe.
Fast bowling.
Yes.
What makes the perfect T20 bowler? My goodness. That's a difficult one. I think
it's an ever-evolving answer as well, right?
Sure. I think, number one, if you've got pace, use it. So if you're able to bowl 150, do it. But if there are any young players listening to this podcast, which I'm sure there are, get your technique right. We're in an era where there's stress fractures, stress reactions, high workloads. If you're young, get your technique right. I think it's something that is just, fielding, I'm sure will tell you, is neglected in fielding, how to throw. In fast bowling, it's certainly neglected. So making sure you're in good positions to bowl fast and withstand the forces that go through your system as a fast bowler. Number two, be adaptable. You got to be able to bowl a lot of variations, get very skillful. Because even if you can bowl 150, you can still get hit into the stands. So it's about being adaptable to the game and, just being able to execute your skills. The best T20 bowlers set a plan, know what they're going to bowl, and then can execute. Having said that, Naveen Al-Haq just came into my head, who is a very skillful bowler, who sometimes double bluffs, doesn't he? He sometimes put a certain field and then doesn't bowl to it. So it's about having your own unique style, but making sure the framework of what you're doing is very solid. And as Will said, and rightly so, is having that absolute belief. Because everybody goes for runs. We saw Jofra Archer in the IPL.
Absolutely. He holds the record now.
Yeah, and then the comeback he's had since then. So even if you go for runs, you don't become a bad bowler overnight. You just keep going.
And the biomechanics of all of it are probably really important, right? Because that makes or breaks a fast bowler. And we have PTSD of losing fast bowlers to injury, right, in Pakistan. So I suppose all of that stuff, maybe Pakistan cricket has more or less slept on it for a while. I suppose pace is pace, right? If you've got it, use it. But thank you so much, both of you, Catherine and Will, for taking
lovely
out
talking to you guys.
the time. Did you guys have fun?
Of course.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
That's the most important bit, right?
So if you guys like the video, click on the like button and subscribe to our channel. Follow everyone, everywhere. Follow us on Spotify and Amazon Music as well.
Become a Johnny of the podcast.
And we'll see you guys next time. Until then, Allah Hafiz.